I know it now. It only took me.
Okay, you go first.
You always go first.
Oh, okay. What's up, YouTube? I'm Lo.
And I'm Emma.
And you reached Book Girls on the Internet! Okay. We are doing Hunger. Came out in 2017 by Roxane Gay. It's also a nonfiction memoir. It was my pick. Oh! I have it in real life.
Rabbit. People need to see.
Clearly not prepared.
Me.
Okay.
Lori, what is this book about?
This book is about, it's a memoir, like I said. It's about, okay, wait. Trigger warning.
Big
For
trigger
this entire review, trigger warning for sexual violence, more specifically, I'm gonna say it, gang rape, fat phobia, homophobia, yeah, just trigger warning, okay? If you're gonna watch this review, if you're gonna read the book, just, yeah, and if you have those triggers. Sometimes triggers are good things too, so I don't know, depends on who you are. Okay, this book is about Roxane Gay's life, life in the way that she perceives it, but through her body. So she really adopts like a somatic lens to what happened to her and how she coped or didn't cope, depends how you look at it. And yeah, she's very, matter of fact, like, this is what happened to me, this is how I coped, I don't want you to pity me. She says that word for word in the book, which I appreciate. I really like when authors say, like, don't patronize me, and a lot of memoirs are obviously a lot of trauma, and as readers we want to be compassionate, but sometimes compassion turns into pity, which is like not right.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell from my facial expression. But did you
What
like
did you
it?
think of the book?
I love this book. I read it in less than 24 hours. So I started one evening, went to bed, and then I read it all in one day. Okay, well, I was sitting in the train all day. But it was an excellent book. But before we just talk about the book itself, I just want to acknowledge, like, Roxane Gay is the second book that I read from her. I read Bad Feminist.
Me too.
In 2020. And actually, the first person to introduce me to Roxane Gay was in 2017 when this book came out, and her name was Emma. She was a coworker. And she was just like, this is so good, like, so on and so forth. And so that led me to read Bad Feminist in 2020. But I love this memoir, so we will unpack it. But first, did you like it?
I did. I really liked it. I have read Bad Feminist as well, and I have yet to read something by Roxane Gay that I don't like. And yeah, it was really intense, but yeah, it was very straightforward. Like, she's just a phenomenal writer. So she has such talent where she's bringing you in, but she's, I don't know, you just get sucked into the book, and I love it. So yes, I really liked it.
Yeah, there's not... Sometimes memoir, I'm like, oh, okay, like, this person omitted this, like, I wonder if it's strategic, or if you've watched our review from Educated by Tara Westover, which was not a critique per se, but it was just like, okay, this is interesting. But in Hunger,
It feels
I feel like she just
omit
lays
anything.
it all out.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like, this is a story, and she's not afraid to be. She acknowledges her limitations. So Roxane Gay is fat, and she admits that it's very hard for her to be unapologetic about being fat, and I think it's like so. I don't want to say brave because I'm just like, okay, like, why does it take bravery? But it's so important to hear this perspective in the era of like body positivity and like, I guess fat pride or whatever wording you want to use. Because yeah, it's true that not everybody feels unapologetic about living in an oppressed body, and like that's fair. And I just really, really like appreciate this honesty that she has. Of like navigating that within herself, but also acknowledging that like my experience of living, as a fat black woman is like really fucked up. There's nothing bad that I can say about this memoir. I don't know if you've read this book by Wally Lamb. It came out in '92. It's so random. I read it in high school.
What's the name?
It's right here. Not me. I'm pulling out of the book. So it's this book, She's Come Undone. And this is by Wally Lamb. It came out in '92, and the main character is Dolores, and she also experiences sexual assault early in her life, and she also uses food as her coping mechanism. And when I read this book in 9th grade, I took what I could from it. I was only in 9th grade. But I always think about Dolores a lot. And when I was reading Hunger, I was like, oh my god, this is kind of like Dolores in She's Come Undone. So it was such an interesting parallel of like a memoir, which is like nonfiction, and like a novel that is like totally fictive. But yeah, just.
I think I know the other author of I Know This Much Is True. Like that, I know.
I've not read his other work. I bought this yesterday for like $4. Anyway, segue.
I want to add, if we're discussing other books this book made us think of.
Yeah.
I just read, and
I think so many books are connected.
Yeah, so it's funny, I read this one I'm about to say December 15th, and I think I read Hunger like right after, so I probably should have had more time, because then I was like, did I read this and that or this? But I read What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat by Aubrey Gordon, and
who also has podcast Maintenance Phase. We will link it below.
And it's just, I don't know, it's an excellent book. I feel like they're different. It's not as much about kind of the personal, well, it is personal trauma, but it's different kind of.
But it's like, how does what we don't talk about when we talk about fat literally manifest in someone's life?
Yeah.
And how does that shape the way that Gay kind of views herself and like experiences, different dimensions of society. But yeah, the book, if I had to succinctly say what the book addresses, is like really demonstrates the impact of sexual violence and how profound it is, and how what's the word? How all consuming. Like she keeps saying in the book, some things happen that I can never say, and like I can never.
Yeah. It struck me how isolated she was after. Like it took her decades to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Like anyone.
Yeah. And so how early in life she had internalized that she could not say.
Yeah. Because your brain, she was what?
12.
Like your brain is dumb and forming still. Like you don't know. And then if you're not able to talk to anyone about it because you're fucking traumatized by it, then you must just process it in such a dysfunctional way that stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Was there, I always ask you this, but in the book sometimes there's like passages that just like really strike me of how did this experience shape her everyday life? And I'll ask you like if something stands out, but to me is the way she wants to dress and versus the way that she actually dresses. So she actually talks about that she actually really enjoys vibrant colors, and she has vibrant colors in her closet, but they're hard to find in her size, and 2, she just doesn't even feel like it's socially approved for a fat person.
Socially approved, but also it draws attention, and then that just brings her back to like attention is
Yeah.
not good because it can lead to these horrific
Yeah, and she's basically coped her whole life to be invisible. That's something that really, like, I mean, I'm not skinny, but I wear straight sizes, as Aubrey Gordon would say, and I have never felt this way. And yeah, it was just, I always say it, the phrase, I couldn't believe it, but like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, like you really don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe wearing bright colors, and it can be as simple as like light blue. Like light blue is a bright color, like it doesn't have to be like bright yellow. But yeah, she's just, honestly, I applaud her for writing this. Then the part that she like Googled him and like found him and like listens to the voicemail. Oh my god, yeah. She just has a lot. It takes so much courage, like to like inquire into one's trauma, let alone write about it and admit
and publish it. And
and admit that like, I mean, hey, like I'm fucked up, like, and that's the story.
A part that stood out to me was when she broke her ankle. And she talks about
that was my favorite, one of my favorite.
It was like this shift in her head, and like I don't know, we've all experienced a version of that where you like you have something in your head and you can know that it's wrong, but it doesn't help you unshift it, like until something just kind of clicks one day. And she talks about how like sharing or going through that, which oh my god, I'm not articulating this at all. But you know how you can think about like physical health versus mental health. It's easy to be like, oh, I break an arm, I like get a cast, or I have an infection, I take antibiotics or whatever. And it's like, but with mental health or with personal trauma or, you know, all that, it's easy to just convince yourself that, I don't know, that it's your fault or that you shouldn't get the appropriate help or that it's hard to talk to people about it. And for her, that was a shift around.
She was just like, I'm fragile.
Yeah. And that chapter just, to me, stuck out a lot.
I loved it too. I loved when she said, actually highlighted this part.
I screenshot it.
On top of it, she's so funny. Like,
she is.
I think it's chapter 74. She said that in the hospital, she was in bed so much that her ass starting to hurt and she wanted it surgically removed. And I just thought it was so funny. I have a lot of highlights in this book. Sadly, I did not put a sticky note. Okay, just to illustrate how funny she is. So this is chapter 82, when she breaks her ankle. At the hospital, I got x-rays and the technician said, your ankle is very, very broken. Which is not to be confused, I guess, with just regular broken. I thought that was really funny.
She has like a dry wit that is fantastic.
Yeah, I love her use of the phrase not to be confused. She uses it a few times. And I thought she's so clever, like the way that she writes, because it's all those little subtleties. Like, okay, if someone at the hospital says like, your ankle is very, very broken, it's just like, it's fucking broken. Like, just
you
not like, oh, a little nick, you know? It's just. Okay, another passage with the ass part. 2 other strange things were going on. My heart was beating in an irregular rhythm, which I'm pretty sure has been the case for years, and I had really low hemoglobin count. So she had a lot of complications before she could actually get her ankle surgically like fixed. They were not going to send me home, so I got a room and I would end up staying in for 10 days. My ass became so sore, I was ready to remove it surgically.
I'm reading a section that I liked from that too, which is not as funny. But this shows me the shift in her head, and I related it to some of my own stuff. But everyone was so worried about me when I broke my ankle, and it confused me. I have a huge, loving family and a solid circle of friends, but these were something of an abstraction, something to take for granted. And then all of a sudden, they weren't. They were people calling me every day and hovering over my hospital bed and sending me things just to cheer me up. There were lots of concerned texts and emails, and I had to face something I've long pretended wasn't true, for reasons I don't fully understand. If I died, I would leave people behind who would struggle with my loss. I finally recognized that I matter to the people in my life and that I have a responsibility to matter to myself and take care of myself so they don't have to lose me before my time, so I can have more time. When I broke my ankle, love was no longer an abstraction. It became this real, frustrating, messy, necessary thing. And I had a lot of it in my life. It was an overwhelming thing to realize. I'm still trying to make sense of it all, even though it has always been there. Like, that is just so
Is that the
beautiful.
last paragraph?
No, it keeps going. But,
I love this paragraph too. I'm pretty sure I have it highlighted. But yeah, it's like the realization that like until now I may have not valued to myself, but I am valued by other, and therefore I should value, even if it's just for that.
which is something that you can know, but when you're in like that darkness, your brain tricks you and lies to you, and you convince yourself that. Anyways, I'm like, it's getting to therapy now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
it was
but-
just beautiful.
Yeah,
I really liked the book.
it's I mean, memoirs segue really well into therapy, but yeah, the way that she illustrates her story is, if you've never read a memoir, maybe start with this one. I don't know if I would. Yeah, there's a lot of good memoirs out there, but
There's a lot of good ones.
yeah, it was so good. Book Girls approved.
Definitely.
I have nothing else to add. Okay, bye. Okay, thanks so much for watching. If you like our videos, please subscribe.